It's often said that cryptocurrency will bank the unbanked. What's not said very often, however, is that you usually need a bank to buy cryptocurrency in the first place. You usually need a bank to sell cryptocurrency for fiat too, since crypto is not typically accepted as legal tender. This is about to change thanks to a recent partnership between Stellar and MoneyGram, which will make it possible to convert cash to crypto and back without a bank in over 200 countries. Today, I'm going to give you a quick overview of Stellar, tell you what the project has been up to, and explain why XLM could go into Stellar in 2022. I hate to kill the vibe, but going any further without a disclaimer wouldn't be wise. Please don't ask for any investment help because I cannot advise. Education and entertainment are the only things I can provide. Contact a financial advisor for any financial plights. If this is the first time you see me in your sights, my name is Guy, and if you think this channel is about crypto, you are right. The Coin Bureau is home to quality crypto content that you'll want to watch day and night. Coins, tokens, reviews, taxes, technical analysis, and other topics that bite. If that sounds all right, subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell in the bottom right. If you're running short on time, you can use the timestamps below to skip ahead to any interesting subjects you find. Just know that the more you watch, the more you'll grow your mind. That's it for my intro rhymes. Let's see if Stellar's XLM is ready for new all-time highs. If Stellar doesn't ring a bell, here's a quick rundown. So, Stellar was founded in 2014 by David Mazieres, Joyce Kim, and Jed McCaleb. Now, if that third name sounds familiar, that's because Jed is also the co-founder of Ripple, the company that created XRP. Jed actually left Ripple over disagreements about Ripple's future, and that's why he created Stellar. Now, in contrast to XRP, Stellar's development is coordinated by the aptly named Stellar Development Foundation, a non-profit based in the United States. The Stellar Development Foundation received $3 million from Stripe CEO Patrick Collison in 2014 in exchange for 2 billion XLM. This was the only private or public sale of XLM, the only ICO, so to speak. Like XRP, Stellar ultimately seeks to improve the existing financial infrastructure and integrate with it rather than replace it. Stellar initially began as a fork of XRP in 2014 and transitioned to its own unique architecture and consensus mechanism in 2015. Stellar is quite centralized with only 21 top-tier validator nodes, which are run by a handful of institutions, including the Stellar Development Foundation. That said, Stellar has around 130 nodes in total, and anyone can spin up a Stellar core node to help secure its blockchain. Unlike other cryptocurrencies, Stellar does not provide any economic incentives at the protocol level to run a node. Nodes also do not need to stake any XLM. As such, there are no staking rewards, and Stellar's documentation also notes that all transaction fees, quote, go into a locked account and sit there unused by anyone. All transaction fees are, of course, paid in XLM, which is Stellar's native cryptocurrency coin. XLM had an initial supply of 100 billion, and 20% of this supply was airdropped to BTC and XRP holders. The rest went to the Stellar Development Foundation, minus that 2 billion XLM I mentioned earlier. In late 2019, the foundation burned 55 billion of its XLM, and the remaining 30 or so billion XLM will finish vesting to the foundation in January 2023, according to Masari. Now, while Stellar does have smart contract functionality, the few dApps that Stellar has are fairly hard to find. They're not tracked by sites such as DeFi Pulse and DeFi Llama, and you'd be hard-pressed to name one off the top of your head. This is basically because Stellar's focus is payments and tokenized assets, and any excessive dApp development would bloat its blockchain, which can currently process around 1,000 transactions per second with near zero fees. Stellar's primary selling point is that it has essentially succeeded where other payment-oriented cryptocurrencies failed. Over the years, the Stellar Development Foundation has created a global network of fiat on- and off-ramps for Stellar called anchors, which are mostly banks. Stellar has also partnered with dozens of other financial institutions and even a few governments to develop central bank digital currencies. More on that later. And last but not least, Stellar Development Foundation CEO Danelle Dixon has been a frequent guest at high-profile cryptocurrency discussions, such as the recent hearing featuring CEOs from 6 of the largest cryptocurrency companies. And you can find out what happened there by using the link in the top right. It's been more than a year since I last covered Stellar, and it's safe to say that a lot has happened since then. Not long after that video went out, the SEC announced that it would be suing Ripple over its sales of XRP, which the SEC believes is a security, like a stock in a company, for example. Given XLM's similarities to XRP, this led to a huge XLM sell-off, which climaxed when Grayscale announced that it had sold half of the XLM held by its Stellar Trust. Luckily, Grayscale did not do away with its Stellar Trust like it did with its XRP Trust, though Grayscale's Stellar Trust has remained unavailable to any new investors since the start of the year. In early January, we saw the opposite effect occur when XRP holders shifted to Stellar after realizing it was safe from the Eye of Sauron, aka the SEC. The Ukrainian government also announced that it had partnered with the Stellar Development Foundation to build its central bank digital currency. In mid-January, a large real estate group in Germany issued a bond worth $25 million on the Stellar blockchain, something that was made possible by a law that had changed a few weeks prior. In early February, the USDC stablecoin went live on the Stellar blockchain, something which had been in the works since October last year. Initially, there were just a few million USDC on Stellar, but in September, over 160 million USD was suddenly printed. Now, I suspect this has to do with the MoneyGram partnership, which I'll get to in a moment. In early April, the Stellar blockchain nearly broke down when nodes operated by the Stellar Development Foundation suddenly stopped validating transactions. Now, I say nearly broke down because the Stellar blockchain still remained online, though most transactions failed since most validator nodes seem to rely on the Horizon API to process transactions, namely those run by the Stellar Development Foundation. As far as I understand, this issue was caused by the increased blockchain data centralization introduced by Horizon 2.0, which was released in March. Note that I'm not a technical person. I just know that centralization equals bad. Oddly enough, the Stellar Development Foundation celebrated the brief breakdown of its nodes as proof that the Stellar blockchain is sufficiently decentralized. A protocol upgrade was subsequently pushed to patch the issue. At the end of April, Stellar Development Foundation CEO Danelle Dixon published a blog post pushing back against the draft recommendations for cryptocurrency released by the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF. This is one of the many times that Stellar has stepped up to defend the crypto industry, and Stellar has been a strong supporter of pro-crypto lobbying groups like the Blockchain Association. You can find out what the FATF's finalized cryptocurrency recommendations are by using the link in the top right. In early May, Tala partnered with Visa, making it possible for Tala's 6 million customers to spend USDC on Stellar at any one of the 70 million merchants which Visa supports. For context, Tala is a mobile banking app that lets unbanked populations access traditional financial services, primarily loans. Tala is an important player in Stellar's ecosystem, and the project recently raised $145 million to accelerate its expansion, with $40 million of those dollars coming from the Stellar Development Foundation. In early June, Stellar developers pushed the Protocol 17 upgrade, which introduced asset clawbacks. This makes it possible for financial institutions to have total control over the tokenized assets they issue on Stellar. At the end of June, the Stellar Development Foundation became a member of the Association of Ukrainian Banks, laying the groundwork for more high-profile partnerships in the region. At the end of July, Bloomberg reported that the Stellar Development Foundation was looking to buy MoneyGram in partnership with a private equity firm. This is significant because Ripple holds a significant stake in MoneyGram and even convinced MoneyGram to use its payment platform. Unfortunately, Ripple's partnership with MoneyGram fizzled out in March this year due to the SEC's ongoing lawsuit against the company and its top executives. In early August, a Stellar project called Velo partnered with financial institutions in Europe and Thailand to improve remittance payments for over 600 million people. Stellar also partnered with a Chilean company to create a stablecoin pegged to the Chilean peso. In late September, Stellar partnered with an Argentinian company to create a stablecoin pegged to the Peruvian sol, with plans to produce a stablecoin pegged to the Colombian peso as well. Stellar also partnered with 2 Canadian companies to create a stablecoin pegged to the Canadian dollar. All these stablecoin partnerships foreshadow potential CBDC contracts, which the Stellar Development Foundation not so subtly mentioned in an early October blog post. In early October, Stellar also announced its partnership with MoneyGram, which will make it possible to, quote, seamlessly convert USDC to cash or cash to USDC on the Stellar blockchain. Some context is required here. So, MoneyGram is one of the largest remittance payments providers in the world. It operates in 200 countries, has 350,000 physical locations, and over 150 million customers. With MoneyGram, anyone can walk into any MoneyGram location and send money overseas using cash or card. No bank account required, just photo ID. On the receiving end, the recipient just needs to show the MoneyGram employee their photo ID along with a secret code that's given to them by the sender. Assuming everything checks out, the recipient then receives cash in their local currency and goes on their merry way. Although the exact details of Stellar's partnership with MoneyGram have yet to be revealed, the Stellar Development Foundation recently posted a demo of how it will work in practice, and an interview with MoneyGram CEO Alex Holmes at Stellar's Meridian event offers a few clues too. For starters, any Stellar wallet will be able to integrate with MoneyGram. This integration will allow anyone to create a MoneyGram account directly within a Stellar wallet, which will allow them to exchange fiat for USDC and vice versa at any MoneyGram location using cash or card. Besides making it possible for just about anyone in the world to hold USDC, it looks like this partnership will also create an easy on and off ramp for fiat and cryptocurrency. The only caveat is that Chainalysis will be watching every transaction closely, and this could create some issues when it comes to redeeming any USDC that was received from an unknown third party, or any USDC that came from making mad gains on Stellar's recently released decentralized exchange. In any case, the product of Stellar's partnership with MoneyGram is currently being piloted in the United States, and it sounds like everything is going smoothly so far. Stellar and MoneyGram aim to introduce this feature to every MoneyGram location in the world, starting with select locations in 11 countries which have yet to be named. Now, if that wasn't bullish enough, the Ukrainian government recently announced that it will be using the Stellar blockchain to pilot its CBDC. This is something that I predicted last November, and you can learn all about my Stellar CBDC conspiracy theory by using the link up there in the top right. Now, as amazing as all Stellar's announcements, partnerships, and developments have been, XLM's price action doesn't look all that pretty. It's a long way away from the all-time high it set back in early 2018, and though it did see a nice pump earlier this year, it hasn't yet managed to recover from the crash in May. At the time of shooting, XLM is only up about 2x since the start of the year, which is peanuts compared to how much almost every other cryptocurrency has performed. XLM's poor price action is being caused by one thing: sell pressure, specifically from the Stellar Development Foundation. Recall that the foundation only received $3 million at its inception. To my knowledge, it hasn't received any additional funding since then. This means that the foundation has been relying on its sales of XLM to pay its expenses and fund the expansion of Stellar's ecosystem. And this isn't speculation either. The foundation's XLM spending is clearly detailed on its mandate page, and I applaud it for its transparency. The latest figures suggest that the foundation has spent over $5 billion of its $30 billion XLM so far, and the Wayback Machine reveals that about $3 billion of this XLM was spent over the last year. What's more is that a paragraph at the end of the mandate notes that, quote, "As we said when we first announced this framework in November 2019, we intend to use or disperse most of these lumens within 10 years, ideally sooner." In other words, the sell pressure isn't going to stop anytime soon. Now, this wouldn't be a problem were it not for the fact that there aren't very many demand drivers for XLM. There don't seem to be many, if any, institutions investing in XLM, and that's probably because all of the regulatory uncertainty related to XRP. There also don't seem to be many Stellar users, and my evidence for this is the 6,000 downloads the Freighter browser extension wallet has. Freighter is basically Stellar's version of MetaMask and is used to interact with Stellar's dApps, wherever they are. This means the only demand for XLM is coming from the institutions the Stellar Development Foundation has partnered with, and these partnerships are only starting to reach their final form. On the bright side, this paints a pretty bullish picture for XLM in 2022, and I could see XLM retesting its early 2018 highs if its MoneyGram partnership delivers on its promises. Stellar also has no shortage of upcoming milestones which could attract both retail and institutional interest. The Stellar Development Foundation revealed 2 Stellar roadmaps for 2022 during the aforementioned Meridian event. The first is a general roadmap presented by CEO Danelle Dixon, who outlined 5 areas of focus for next year. These are to create more use cases for the Stellar blockchain, to be more transparent and interactive with the Stellar community, to focus on emerging markets, to demand financial inclusion, i.e. the adoption of cryptocurrency, and to impact policy related to cryptocurrency, particularly in the United States, where Stellar hopes to help clarify crypto regulations. Danelle also mentioned that the Stellar Development Foundation will work with the Stellar community to develop a long-term roadmap for the project. The second Stellar roadmap is more technical in nature, and it was detailed during the Meridian event by one of Stellar's top developers. The first area of focus is scalability. As I mentioned earlier, Stellar can only process around 1,000 transactions per second. Obviously, this won't be enough to handle all the traffic created by MoneyGram and the other institutions that will be using Stellar in 2022. This is why Stellar's developers are hoping to increase Stellar's Layer 1 TPS to 5,000 by the end of next year, something that should be easily achievable. The second area of focus is interoperability, especially with other cryptocurrencies. Despite being around for over 7 years, Stellar apparently has not built any cross-chain bridges to Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any other major cryptocurrency, though newscrypto.io did recently build its own Stellar bridge for Polygon. More bridges are scheduled to be built in 2022, and it sounds like the first one will be with Flare Network, a peculiar choice given that Flare Network was funded by Ripple and acts as a smart contract layer for XRP. In addition to these 2 technical milestones, Stellar developers will also introduce a Layer 2 scaling solution for Stellar called Starlight, which will process hundreds of thousands of transactions per second. This sounds crazy, but it seems doable because Starlight's architecture is eerily similar to Bitcoin's Lightning Network. And you can learn more about the Lightning Network using the link in the top right. And now for everyone's favourite part, my concerns about Stellar. I'll start by saying that my opinion of Stellar has changed since I last covered the project, and I mean that in a good way. Back then, Stellar struck me as a straight-up banker coin, a crypto project with little to no care for or interest in the core values of cryptocurrency. However, the actions of the Stellar Development Foundation, and especially Danelle Dixon over the last year, are proof that this is not the case, and Stellar could very well be the crypto project that saves the industry from excessive crypto regulation in the United States. Even so, there's no denying that the Stellar Development Foundation's selling is doing serious damage to the price of XLM. This is fundamentally due to Stellar's institutional focus, which has left individuals wanting. There's no staking, there are no dApps, there's no DeFi, there are no NFTs, and there is next to no interoperability. To be clear, I know that dApps, DeFi, NFTs, and interoperability exist on Stellar, but they're so far back on the back burner that they've fallen off the stove into that nasty crack between it and the wall, so to speak. This ties into my second concern, and that's Stellar's architecture. Never mind the fact that Stellar isn't all that fast by today's standards, the absence of economic incentives is a recipe for disaster, even if the top-tier validators are run by reputable and accountable parties. What's alarming is that even with Stellar's theoretically secure centralization, in practice its blockchain has seen significant issues which appear to be due to said centralization. And this brings me to my final concern, and that's regulation. I'm somewhat surprised that the Stellar Development Foundation published an updated roadmap for Stellar, and let me tell you why. Now, this is speculation on my part, but I think that the reason every other crypto project based in the United States has avoided publishing an updated roadmap is because it could attract the attention of the SEC, resulting in the Ripple treatment. Without getting into the details, publishing a roadmap is evidence that the company behind the project is still in control, which is why founders of certain crypto projects always dodge questions about roadmaps in their interviews. It looks like the Stellar Development Foundation can get away with publishing an updated roadmap because it's a non-profit, but I suspect there's more to this story. As much as regulators in the United States have resisted stablecoins, they don't really want to crack down on them, and that's because it's good for the United States if millions of people around the world are using a digital dollar. Not only does this help the dollar retain its status as the world's reserve currency, but it also gives the United States total control via the companies who issue these stablecoins, since they're based in the United States. The Stellar Development Foundation's alliance with USDC issuer Circle and its success in driving adoption of the dollar overseas has probably kept regulators at bay and will continue to if the Stellar Development Foundation continues to play ball with politicians and Wall Street. I just hope that the foundation doesn't get sucked into ESG, and you can find out why by using the link up there in the top right. And that's it for my Stellar update, folks. If you enjoyed it, smash that like button, please. If you plan on coming back, subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell. If you've already watched every video on this channel, head on over to Coin Bureau Clips for behind the scenes and interviews with the team. If you've watched the videos on there too, follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for exclusive crypto content. If you don't do social media, join my Telegram channel instead to get daily crypto updates. If daily updates annoy you, subscribe to my weekly newsletter to get the lowdown and a look at my personal crypto portfolio. If you want to be comfy and look cool while doing any of the above, get a crypto-themed sweater, hoodie, beanie, or tee from the Coin Bureau merch store. Links to all these goodies and more can be found down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all tomorrow. Till then, my friends, adieu.